Thank you. Good afternoon, my colleagues, and to the people of Guam. The Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriation, Housing Committee is back in the hearing. It is now 2:20. Madam Speaker, you had a motion. If you can please express it, and then we'll move on that one. You hit unmute. There you go. There you go.
Mr. Chair, before we broke away for lunch, I had asked for consideration to go back into chapter 1. As we look at what is happening with us today, in order for us to make any amendments to add or take away from any of the chapters, especially as it relates to health, education, and safety, we need to approve our numbers moving forward. And when we last left, I'd asked, now that the body can, that motion was made for everybody to participate in the committee and to make the necessary amendments going forward, I asked for a reconsideration on a motion to go back to chapter 1 to approve whatever revenues this body will accept. So if I may, the motion is to go back to chapter 1, and then and if that is accepted, I have a second motion to ask the clerk for an update on exactly where we last left off when we were in the committee of the whole.
All right. Do we have a second on that motion? Because I'm in support of that, but I need a second. Joe, go ahead and unmute everybody. Do we have a second?
Can we speak on the motion, Mr. Chair?
No,
Well,
it's not.
let's go to second first. We have Senator Amanda second the motion. Now,
If I understand it, sir,
Yes.
I think it's a procedural motion. If you need legal to check, I don't think it's debatable. You just need
no,
to
as a
call.
matter of fact, my colleagues, I did speak with legal. They said we can go back to 1, and that being said, that was the motion. Why don't we go ahead and wrap up 1? There shouldn't be a lot to discuss there. It's really just the additional that was proposed by BBMR. And John, like I mentioned earlier, if you can just be patient, sir. I don't want to keep any longer. I know you're at work right now, so we're gonna go ahead and take you off the video chat for now, and then we'll just try to wrap up this budget. And Madam Vice, you wanted to speak on that we're gonna go back to chapter 1?
Well, if there's a motion being made, we can still object. Because I do not think that this is a prudent measure to move forward with jumping all over the place. This is why we are losing time.
Yeah, we're not jumping around really too much, but I understand. Is there any objection to that motion?
I object.
Okay. Okay, Joe, take a roll call on the motion, and we'll see how many people will vote for it to go back to chapter 1 so we can close chapter 1, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the speaker's motion to go back to chapter 1, Chairman Joseph Agustin.
Aye.
Chairman St. Augustine, aye. Vice Chairman Rigel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rigel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton.
Ungan, aye.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Barnes.
Again.
Speaker Barnes, aye. Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Lee, nay. Senator Therese Terlahi.
Aye.
Senator Therese Terlahi, nay. Senator Pito Terlahi.
Turn on your mic, Pito.
Ungan, for the 5th time.
Senator Pito Terlahi, aye. Senator Marsh Taitano.
Aye.
Senator Marsh Taitano, nay. Senator Castro.
Aye.
Senator Castro, nay. Senator Moylan.
Nay.
Senator Moreland, nay. Senator Muña.
Nay.
Senator Muña, nay. Senator Nelson, Vice Speaker Nelson.
Ahi.
Vice Speaker Nelson, nay. Senator Perez.
Ahi.
Senator Perez, nay. Senator Torres.
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitagui.
Ahi.
Senator Taitagui, nay. Mr. Chair, you have 6 ayes and 9 nays. The motion fails.
All right, thank you, colleagues. We will move along then with chapter 2. I would just ask my colleagues, we're gonna run the clock so that we're not spending too much time with one speaker. Everybody gets a chance to speak. We left off with Senator Therese. We're gonna move now to Senator Sabina Perez, who had waved her hand, and we have Senator Moore. Senator Therese, yes, you look kind of puzzled. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, no. If I tried to upload an amendment that we talked about it, but I don't think we actually voted on it.
Which amendment? Which amendment are you referring to?
It was on the paragraph 2, section 2 of chapter 2, and it talks about the Simon Sanchez $500,000. This would amend it so that it's not going to the same purpose that they're already finalizing the procurement, which is the owner's agent, engineer, architectural and engineering services, and instead the money would go to construction, so that we'll leave it there. It's at DOE, but this is for the next purpose of it. Yeah. So they've already said if they get the carryover from last year, that's enough. They're going to take care of the architect engineering with the money they got from the governor and all the prior appropriations.
But Senator Therese, if you look at that section 2 on which is line 26 of page 10 into page 11, you'll find that on line 3, it says architectural engineering services and other related services for the construction. Is that what you're referring to? The other related services for the construction? Is that what you're actually being specific? Because John Fernandez will have the flexibility to use it for that reason. That is in the bill.
I'm not so sure, Mr. I think this, well, I don't want to debate it, but I think that other related means other related to the architect and engineering. And they were very, all this time we've been giving them piecemeal, for different purposes. We're hoping that with the architect and engineering that they're finishing the procurement on during this fiscal year 20, that they,
all right.
If we're lucky, they'll be able to begin next year. Yeah.
I hope so. John, maybe Mr. Fernandez, maybe you can comment to that on that page 11 of chapter 2. Would that suffice to meet the other construction related, or is that specifically to the engineering? Are you following me, John, on that one?
No, I don't recall the intent of the language. I can see it being read both ways. I mean, when we were focused on it being the part of the solicitation for the A&E services, we're happy for a broader interpretation if it's agreeable, but we were focused on the A&E services at the time that this was put forward.
Okay, so we're waiting for Senator Therese's amendment. Why don't we just go ahead and continue, Senator Therese, and we will address your amendment because I understand where you come from, specifically to the construction.
Yeah.
If that's okay with you, just so that we don't hold up any longer, and we'll move to Senator Perez.
Yeah, if I can, if you look at the bill, if it's to strike out the words "and owners" all the way to related services for. So it would be striking out the owners and architectural and engineering services and leaving the construction.
All right.
And if Mr. Fernandez could just clarify one more time. So they've got the 500 from the last year, fiscal year 20. I think they got 1 million from the governor to add to that. Is that correct? What about the prior years? Is that also going towards architect and engineering, or is there anything left from those prior years?
So I guess I don't want to get too far into the details, except to recognize that there was prior authorization and appropriation put forth there is some funding gap that we're trying to address, so we can certify funding, and we hope to do that soon so we can move it forward. So our intent is to get this awarded prior to before the end of the fiscal year, so that any further assistance for Simon Sanchez would be for the next phase and beyond.
All right. So we're still consistent if my colleagues and everybody else that has the budget in front of them, on page 11, line 2, is to strike out the whole line 2. Am I correct, Senator Therese? And also on 3, procurement of and strike out also and other related, to just say procurement of services for the construction of Simon Sanchez, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so is everybody following on that while we're waiting still for the amendment to come out officially? I mean, so we can see it. But at least everybody understands what the amendment is all about. And then once it comes out, then we can vote on it or have more discussion on that. All right?
All right, well, yeah, they just got the email from your office, so they're trying to upload it now.
Okay.
While we're waiting for that, Mr. Chair, can I just add one more thing to our prior discussion on the MOE? So it's just my rough calculation, but it looks to me like for FY21, DOE is getting 21.2% of the overall budget. And in FY20, they received 20.9% of the overall budget. So I'm hoping that also can be used to help show this maintenance of effort. I mean, I know we're all going to try to work hard on that. So yeah, I'm hoping.
All right.
Yeah, even though it's
All
a
right.
drastic cut, and I admit that's going to be hard.
Okay, does everybody see the official amendment at this point?
Do you? Is it there?
Joe, is that already uploaded for everybody to see?
I'm sorry, was that the amendment form, sir, or the amendment?
The amendment form that has to be routed as required.
That has already been emailed to all the senatorial offices.
Okay, so everybody should be able to see it, right? And then Senator Therese can read out now the official amendment. And then we'll put it up for discussion, and then we'll move to vote to add the amendment onto the budget bill on page 11, and then we move on. And then Senator Sabina will be up next. Right
I
after that
apologize,
amendment.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Would it be possible for us, if Senator Terlahi has additional questions that she'd like to ask while her staff is working on putting the amendment in writing and putting it in the folders, or at least on our chat, so we can all read it and have an opportunity to review it before we vote on it? Is it possible for us to continue with the discussion and not take a break or take a pause? Like, we can continue to work and continue to use the time of Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Ascension wisely?
Yes, please. Senator Therese, is that okay? We're gonna move along. Okay? And
Yeah,
then
we already
come
had it
back to
on
your
the
amendment.
old form. It's just converting it to the new form, and I'm hoping it's up by now. But anyways, yeah, so it should be
Can we
there.
at least put the text in our chat so we can, are you able to do that? Or you can upload it, just click file and upload it?
Well, that's how that works.
I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. I'm on a different computer for the Zoom.
Okay, Joe, see what you can do, Joe, to get it
might be
loaded.
able to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But why don't we go ahead and just move along? We're gonna still
Sure.
come back to your amendment.
okay.
All right, Senator Paris?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, in discussing, in meeting with Superintendent John Fernandez back in February, he had mentioned that the RFP went out. And so I just wanted to ask, obviously he kind of updated us saying that he hopes to get it done by the end of this month. So I just wanted to confirm what were the steps, or where are we at now with the procurement process?
Right, so we published the RFP and gave bidders an opportunity to submit their proposals. We, after their submission of their proposals, we ranked the offerers, and then we proceeded to negotiate with the highest ranked offerer, and then after that stage, we just have to finalize an agreement, certify the necessary funding available, and then be able to form and approve a contract after ensuring that we meet all the proper requirements, like circulate a notice of intent to award and so forth. So we're in the latter stage of just trying to finalize those pieces so that we can push forward. And again, our intent is to do this before the end of the fiscal year, which means to obligate. And we're working very closely with the governor's office as well. They are obviously to make that happen.
Okay, so the money that was appropriated in the past, so what happened to the funds? I mean, if it was appropriated, where was the funds?
I'd be happy to provide a kind of an after action report after we award it. I don't want to get into the details of what is and is not funded at this point, only because it pertains to the procurement itself. So if you would allow us to proceed with our plans to award it, so that when information is public, we can provide that back to the legislature so you can see what happened. At this point, we're at the late stage. We do have confidence that we'll get everything done. It's just that I don't want to jeopardize anything at this stage. And then once it's finalized, of course, it's public documents, and you'll be able to get those answers at that time.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Understood. Yeah,
I
was going to proffer amendment regarding reporting of the solicitation.
Yeah, we're happy to provide it once everything is done, executed, and moving forward, and it's able to be shared publicly. You're just not there at that final stage yet, but we're all eager to get there. So before the fiscal year is our goal to make sure that gets done.
All right, thank you. Also in regards to, if you probably went over this already, but what is the total student enrollment, and what is the number of teachers currently?
I don't have the specifics. We're typically getting close to 2,000 teachers a year. The enrollment as of last year was in the 28,000 range, but this year, as I mentioned before, we have to, we need a little bit more time to kind of get a better grip of where we are in terms of enrollment for this school year. Just because we're in a different mode of learning, and we're still trying to track down some of the students who have yet to reconnect to the school system. So usually by September 30th, we finalize an official enrollment number.
Okay, and so the vice speaker, the chair of the education committee, was mentioning that, I liked the presentation yesterday. It was very good. And as far as OFB's presentation, they basically affirmed that they were able to provide GDOE with the needed resources as far as teachers, and provided some wiggle room in regards to additional hires. So I think in regards to the limited term, so are we looking at a shortage of, so we're looking at, what is the shortage are we looking at right now for teachers?
Right now, we're tracking about 50 positions for which there are no applicants in play. So this is as of last week, as when we reported to the board.
But the 314 limited term, does that mean, so are we really lacking 314 teachers?
Yeah, those are the positions that are typically filled by retirees. And so first they're filled by retirees, and then the remainder are filled by limited term employees. These are college graduates who do not have their certification, are also some of the limited term teachers that are brought on. And then the remainder, like as I said, the 50 positions that remain are the ones that we're trying to fill, and typically have that's typically where we are as we get closer to the beginning of the school year.
Okay, great. And the budget covers that, correct, Steve? Or Steve? Oh, yeah. So Steve, can you just confirm that the budget covers the 314 limited terms plus the 50? Or did I get that number?
That would be all together. The 50 typically includes those numbers. So yeah, the 50 would be the ones that are unfilled at this point in time.
So it's part of the 314, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Okay. And okay, thank you, Superintendent. This question is for Gita and Tina Garcia. So I know earlier on the budget, the current budget assumed that we were going to get the bond refinance for JFK and realize a savings of roughly about 2 million. What is your confidence level in regards to this this type of a return? And as far as the market goes, is there a good expectation of this happening?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. We just, oh, am I there? Okay. We just finished 2 water financings during this pandemic. We finished the tax exempt water financing back in May, and that was well received. We did get strong.
Oops. You're kind of breaking up.
Strong investor interest because again,
Sorry, Tina, you're coming in unclear. I don't know if it's my end.
They're excited about Guam's bond status. With regards to this CO, sorry, I'm at the office, but we are. No, it's telling me it is unstable. I don't know what to do about it, but we believe it's a good likelihood.
You're coming in broken up. Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe perhaps you can send a written version of the response to supplement with, yeah, your verbal response.
It will be good to get at least 2 million.
Sorry, I lost the whole segment before you got to that point. And perhaps maybe you can send a written response because of the internet connection is not very good right now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, yes, Lester, you're gonna reemphasize what reference to the question?
Yes, if I may.
All right, Senator Paris, would you allow Lester to respond?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. I believe that Mrs. Garcia was basically saying that we sold 2 GWA issues, one tax exempt and one taxable. We just closed the taxable one 2 nights ago. Strong investor interest in Guam, strong likelihood that upon passage of the measure for JFK, which is section 14, chapter 14 of Substitute Bill 282, that it is highly likely, all things being equal, market conditions not changing, that the money that will be used, that it is highly likely that there will be at least $2 million available, consistent with the language in the JFK authorization on page 152, section 3.
All right, thank you, Lester Carlson.
Thank you.
So a question regarding the maintenance of effort. Just for the record, does the leases for Tizen and other leases, does that qualify as part of it? I don't know if this question is for Superintendent.
I'd have to look at the guidance. I know the guidance that we shared earlier to see whether it does apply. I think there's generally some guidance and flexibility in what funding sources to apply. I know there was some reference to capital funds. I don't know whether they're able to include capital funds or not, and I don't know whether the lease would count as a capital expense, but I know there was some language in there that addressed it. I'd have to look more closely to be able to say yes or no, whether that can be included. But again, to me, my interpretation of the guidance is that, you know, states could look at it. I think as Senator Terlahi mentioned, there might be other ways to look at maintenance of effort, whether, you know, you look at it in terms of percentage of the budget and other ways. But I'm just saying that that's kind of out. That's what I know is in the guidance that was provided. And I would just have to look at it to give my own interpretation. But again, it all comes back to US DOE's determination of how to evaluate, you know, our maintenance of effort once we set forth our best argument. My suggestion, of course, again, was just, I think it would require some, you know, thought between the various branches, because I think the governor's office as well cares about this. We care about this, but we definitely want to have the same metrics that we would use to try to demonstrate the maintenance of effort, or else to make the argument that a waiver is appropriate.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Moving down the line, we have Senator Peter Terlahi. Do you have any questions for the Department of Education? Peter? Senator Peter?
Well, Joe, when you decided to move to chapter 1, I had some questions on that one, but at this point in time, since we're not going back to chapter 1, then I'll just withdraw what I have to ask. Thank you.
All right. But nothing for DOE. You don't have no questions for DOE?
Just that, you know, I want to ask John, where you from?
Don't know rules.
Let the record reflect I'm from Georgia.
Thank you, John.
All right. All right. Senator Lee, I think you asked questions earlier. Am I correct, or did you not on DOE?
You can pass over me on this round, Mr. Chair.
All right. Senator Torres, do you have my colleagues? I'm going down the list of everybody so we can cover everybody, okay? Senator Torres, do you have any questions, ma'am? I'm looking. There you are. Do you have any questions for DOE, ma'am? On
Nothing
chapter 2?
No, just keep it going. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Senator Moreland, do you have any questions? I'm not too sure if you, I don't think you asked any questions earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the director, I appreciate all the information provided. I did have other questions, but most of them were asked previously, so thank you very much.
All right, Senator Castro, do you have any questions? Will, nothing? Okay, Senator Muñoz, do you have any questions? Senator Luis Muñoz on DOE.
Not at this time, Director, but I just want to thank Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Assumption for being patient with us.
All right, and that completes the whole list. Now we're going to go back, folks, my colleagues. Oh, Senator Lee, ma'am.
I apologize, Mr. Chair. I do have a question. I thought I had asked it before, but I just wanted to verify their bottom line for MOE and the whole notion of supplant versus supplement. The chair said that it was 16 million according to what has been submitted, but is that number subject to any change?
John, you want to respond to that, please?
I think what the chairman was responding to, was referring to, was the difference when you look at the appropriations levels and try to take an average of those 3 years and then compare it to the proposed substitute bill appropriations. Now, again, I'm not sure what you're asking and whether that can change. I mean, it would change if the appropriations for GDOE changed for this year. You're talking about the metric and whether that would be, whether that's my interpretation. I don't really know. I guess what I would say is that the guidelines that are provided, and I think that we had circulated to all of you, it does set down some parameters, but it really is going to take some interpretation, and I hope we would have a united interpretation of how best to approach it. I mean, while they do leave flexibility for states to come up with a demonstration of maintenance of effort, there does seem to be some reliance on having it be consistent with, with how we would usually present that information. But again, it really is something that we're going to have to work with the USDOE on. I'm hoping very much like all of you, and I know on the governor's side too, that we would get as much flexibility as possible. And we hope that other states are also acting similarly to require and request that flexibility, because I think everybody's going to be in the same situation. And I don't think anybody wants to put these funds at risk, but at the same time, I don't see any state or jurisdiction that is, where their budgets are going to be robust and growing in this environment. So we do understand the island situation. I brought it up here not to say that I know that it'll definitely be lost, but there is a process that we would have to go through to determine the MOE or to request a waiver. And because it involves your decision making as well as the governor's funding as well, I'm going to ask that we at least work together to figure out whether there is a common metric that we can agree on to make our best argument, or that we jointly request a waiver and try to get make as good an argument as possible regarding what they're referring to as a precipitous reduction in our financial resources, I guess. So that's really my concern, that we are able to make our best argument either way.
Thanks, Mr. Superintendent. And so in terms of, and again, just to clarify, in terms of support, does that mean direct cash funding over the last 3 years, or does it mean appropriation level?
It's not specified in the guidance. It basically says state support, and it does give some wiggle room for interpretation. And I think that's why, I think as Mr. Burns said, it's going to be, I don't think either of us would be able to say exactly what it means, but we would need to make our best argument and try to interpret it to our benefit, of course, to try to retain access to those funds.
And when does it get measured? Does it get measured when a budget is passed and enacted, or is it measured at the end of the year?
My understanding is that they would be looking at, because CARES Act was passed earlier this fiscal year, that they would be looking at FY 17, 18, and 19 as reference points, and that they would be looking at FY 20 and 21 as the period to establish and demonstrate maintenance of effort. That's what I read in the guidance. And then I think furthermore, I believe September of this year is when we would start the process of monitoring and reporting that maintenance of effort, as well as the intended start of the waiver process. What we did in response to the situation now was we went ahead and asked them whether we could go ahead and initiate it if possible. Is there going to be a possibility of initiating a waiver request, so that in the event that they're able to approve it, we know as soon as possible. But it looked like they were planning for this to take place later this year, in September and going forward. And as you know, one of the other concerns that we have is we're in the middle of a presidential election, and as you know, what happens if there is a change, and even whether or not there's a change, there usually is a lot of shuffling and things that go on in the department, and we certainly, that may be other cause for concern in terms of any delays to decision making and so forth. So happy to work with you, and again, apprise you of any response we get from USDOE to help us along the way.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I know we have Senator Kelly would have to ask questions, also the speaker. So the speaker shook her head. She has you don't have any questions, Speaker, right, for DOE? Do you have anything, ma'am? None? Okay. Not at this time. Okay, Senator Kelly, you have any questions, ma'am, you want to pose on DOE?
Just a couple of quick ones. So we had mentioned PBS University earlier, and I really applaud the just GDOE overall. All of the faculty, the instructors that stepped up to the plate in PBS, they had a huge learning curve and made an enormous impact on creating, I think it was something like 300 lessons online. So, you know, to watch. And they're going to be shooting for 700 or 800 more lessons, which is amazing. I know that we have had some discussion of PBS has done all of that out of the spirit of doing the right thing for the right reasons. And we've discussed possibly having a stronger relationship, maybe some sort of compensation this time around. Has any of that had further discussion, or has any of that been formalized?
Yeah, well, I would say, first of all, that I do agree with you and that in what was being done at PBS University. It really was exciting, and I particularly like the kindergarten lessons, which is my level of entertainment when I
They're
watch.
probably the most fun, so.
It's the most fun one. But we definitely wanted to build on that as part of our distance learning. So it's my understanding that the governor is supporting that partnership and providing funding directly to PBS. I don't really want to say the amount without them confirming it, but I do know that they were really committed to supporting in general to really, I think, help improve their services, but also to support distance learning as part of that effort. And it really is exciting because part of it is online. I mean, part of it is on television, but there is also a YouTube platform that they have. And I think when you have all the lessons and you're able, we're gonna work on breaking up those lessons as well, so we can align them with certain topics and standards, so that down the road, if teachers need access to lessons that are done and maybe can be delivered online, that are well produced like they have been at PBS, then they can actually use the archive of lessons as part of their lesson plans, and that's really a promise. So I do think the governor's team with their funding for education has set aside some funding for PBS, and we appreciate that.
Oh, very good. I'll follow up with PBS, and it's a good point that you mentioned. That GDOE is looking for ways, and I guess the governor is as well, that it's going to make an impact not just for now, but something that will serve us for the long term. And having a little bit of experience with online lesson plans and things like this, once you get it into video format, you can use it again and again. So I think that this is going to serve in the long run in numerous ways. My other question is just if you could give me a little bit of insight about the Tomorrow Studies program. I know that they usually have a certain amount of time carved for them. So are they also in this PBS University, and are they also in that hybrid mix, where some of it's face-to-face and some of it's going to be online?
So they will be operating just like we will be in terms of the modes of learning. So we are operating in all three models. I'd have to double check on how they fit into the PBS planning, because as you said, there is a lot of planning going on for a lot of lessons. But we certainly, would want them included as part of that. I just would have to verify the specifics. I think the only shift or the only difference right now would be that we piloted the immersion program, and because of that, there is a request that we did approve to be able to allow more face-to-face instruction. These are smaller classes anyway, so it's we're able to abide by the distancing and all the face masks and other requirements, but allow them to go more on a regular day-to-day basis instead of having to work on be in cohorts. Just because they are a pilot school. They are a smaller program. We could be assured of their safety, but they felt like the immersion curriculum really depended on more of that face-to-face interaction. So they're not able to operate right now under PCOR 1, but that would be the only difference with the Tomorrow Studies program and their initiatives.
All right, Senator Kelly.
Yes, that's very helpful to know in weighing out everything that GDO is doing with their budget to do Spasi.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, folks, we completed the round of questions for all my colleagues. We will now go back to the amendment of Senator Therese Terlai. Folks, you see it on the chat on your right, on your computer. If you want to take a look at it, and we can, let's see.
It should also be uploaded to that drive. Yeah. But
All right, and I'll ask you,
could I just ask two more questions, Mr. Chair, before we proceed with this amendment? That is of the 41.5 million.
Senator Therese, on the second round, when we do the second round, then I'll give you a chance. So let's just complete the amendment, because this was all part of the first round, and then we'll start all over again for one. Remember, everybody's going to get 2 rounds of 5 minutes. We're timing everybody so we can move along.
All right, fine.
Thank you. So why don't we wrap up your amendment, and then we'll start the second round for DOE, okay?
Okay, so this is, I hope everyone can see it. It's again, just to, they seem to have enough money already for the architect and engineering services. We of course want to push the construction, so we're just transferring this appropriation to be for the construction. Hopefully they can complete the A&E during the FY21 and very hopefully begin construction. And I want to thank Mr. Fernandez for their work on this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the completion of your procurement.
All right, does anyone, any of my colleagues would like to speak on the amendment? I'm looking out for hands. I'm looking out from the very top. Senator, I'll start from the beginning. Senator Clint, Madam Speaker, do you want to speak on that amendment? You want to speak on the amendment, Madam Speaker?
Not on the July amendment, I don't think.
Okay, Senator Clint, do you want to speak on that one? Okay, Senator Amanda Shelton? None. Senator, Madam Vice Speaker, do you want to speak on that amendment? You want to support?
No, I support this amendment. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Lee, would you like to speak on that amendment?
No, Mr. Chair, I'm supportive of the amendment.
Okay, I'm just going to go down the list, okay, so that nobody feels that I've left anybody out. Senator Kelly, do you like to speak on that amendment?
I support the amendment, but I'm good.
Okay, Senator Pito Talai, sir.
Joe, I support the amendment, but I just want to raise something here, because you know what, we're discussing at times appropriation level. Don't you think that we need to go into we haven't yet adopted a revenue standing on this? So I'm just
understood. All they were doing on this amendment, Senator Pito, was all they did was the money's still there. It's not adding any new money. It's just redirecting it specifically for construction. It didn't leave DOE or come from anybody else. So it's just within their same budget.
Understand, Joe, but you know, I just want to go back on that 41 million because I have an issue on that one. And understood. I want to ask the superintendent if we appropriately fund.
Peter, why don't we wait for the second round? We're just going to entertain the amendment, and then I'll allow you to speak on that one. Okay.
All right.
Senator Perez, do you have any comments for this amendment?
It looks good. I support it.
All right. Senator Taitigui?
Thank you for the opportunity. I support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Senator Torres?
I'm confused about why it is procurement of construction. I mean, I understand that it was procurement of an A&E services for construction, but is this truly procurement of construction, $500,000, or should it just be stricken altogether and applied towards something else? Because it just seems like it's like a half-baked thing. I mean, if you're putting 500,000 towards construction, that's one thing, but procurement of construction, I don't know. It just doesn't. I mean, Senator Therese, do you understand my question? I mean, is it just because?
May I respond, Mr. Chair? Yes.
Yes, yes, please. I mean,
Yes.
maybe somebody can offer an amendment to it and then we can change it. So that it's written right. I understand where you come from because
It's an excellent point because the construction is probably going to be financed, and this is really just going to go to paying off part of that financing or in another way, however the financing is structured for that construction. And we don't really know that yet. And so, yeah, but it's just, of course I considered taking the money and putting it somewhere else altogether, but I wanted it to stay with DOE and I wanted it to show that as soon as that A&E, it's almost like to just urge DOE that as soon as that A&E can be completed, yeah, let's move on, keep moving, and I am just hoping we're not gonna that this helps them to move faster and get to the construction phase sooner. I mean, construction is going to include, the equipment that's got to go in there, all of that. So it's a drop in the bucket for the construction, but I just thought this is still the best place to keep it.
If I may, Mr. Fernandez, has an A&E been procured already or no?
That's what we are working to get done before the end of the fiscal year. And so,
okay, but the money is already there, so you don't need an additional 500,000 appropriated for the procurement in FY 2021.
What we were looking at, I think the intent was to carry it over just in case there was any timing issue, but our commitment is to get this done before the end of the fiscal year. And so I think as Senator Terlahi mentioned, the resources directed to the next stage would probably be more appropriate than, we're again we're intending to finish up the procurement this fiscal year.
So then would it be appropriate then just to strike the word procurement from this and just keep it Simon Sanchez High School construction and just appropriate that towards? Because it's a procurement part that's kind of, it seems like it's specific to something. And so maybe you just put Simon Sanchez construction and just make sure that this 500,000 is allocated for that. Maybe it's as simple as that, just a recommendation.
I think for us, we would that would work either way. I think it's more flexible your way, Senator Torres, to do it that way, and we know the intent as well from Senator Terlahi as to how to apply that.
So then, if I may, could I make a proposed amendment to the amendment to just strike the word procurement, and in the title replace it with construction, and then just strike it from line 1 of where it says procurement of, just make it just for the construction. Maybe that's simple enough.
So Senator Torres, then basically on line 1, you would strike out the procurement of, and it will start up, it starts on line 1, part of this chapter, striking for the procurement of, and then it will continue with for the construction of Simon Sanchez. Just striking those 4 lines, four words, right? That's basically what you're asking for, right?
Yes, that is.
All right. Does anybody want to speak to that amendment? That fixes it.
I have no objection.
Okay. If there's no, is there any objection to that amendment, as Madam Speaker?
Joe.
Mr. Chair, again, the rule of engagement. Are we voting if there's an amendment to amendment and a motion is made? Just asking, are we voting for each motion or each amendment? And is it by roll call? Because according to the rules and regs, that's the way we're supposed to be doing the votes.
Yes, I was going to get to that point. That I just wanted to know is if there's any objection, and if there was no objection, I wouldn't need the roll call. But yes, if we're going to move to vote, we would do a roll call. You're correct, Madam Speaker. So on that amendment of the amendment to the amendment, am I correct? Are we all in line? The amendment to the amendment of Senator Torres' amendment, of Senator Teresa's amendment to Simon Sanchez, to strike for the procurement on line 1 of page 11 for the procurement of we will do a roll. Are there any objection? If there's no objection, I won't need to do a roll call. Are there any objection to that amendment?
Joe, can I
No objection.
give my thoughts on this one?
Okay, on that specifically, you can speak on that if you want to speak.
You know, Joe, I used to do construction. I used to own my own construction. And when we do a contract on construction, we include the labor and the cost of the material. It's like, it's generalized. It's both included. So I don't know, how are we gonna do this? Are we gonna just put down construction and put another phase there for materials? Because when we do a contract with a construction company, it includes the materials and the labor. It's generalized. So it's up to the body.
Very good statement. I understand that. Senator Muñoz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask though, is the construction of Simon Sanchez supposed to be covered by the municipal lease?
Senator, Mr. John?
So if this, if these resources are available and as we work through that, I think what we were looking at was obviously securing a vendor who could both finance and build the project. I don't think that the language forecloses us from using these funds in any, to support and, that effort, whether it's finance or pays some portion of the project that we don't want to finance. So I think it just gives us the option. I think like Senator Terlahi said, if it's going to involve purchasing equipment that you might need for the school, do you want to finance that? Do you want to, purchase it outright? But there might be options for us to do this. So I think the language is general enough to allow us those options. And because it's related to the construction of the school, we know what the legislature's purpose is, and then we can act accordingly. So I think the removal of the procurement language does give us more flexibility, as to how we execute that, the budget there.
So if I'm understanding correctly, then you're saying that the 500,000 will make the lease, will bring the amount of the lease down, if you can use that 500,000 towards the lease or the construction, excuse me.
Yeah, I guess as we get to that point, and right, if we use that money to purchase something that's needed versus financing it, then it would have an impact on the financing for sure.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. On the amendment, proffered by Senator Torres to strike out for the procurement off, because for the construction continues on line 3. Are there any objection, or we'll end up doing a roll? Is there any objection? And if there's an objection, we'll do a roll call for a vote. Okay, I mean, that's my understanding on this. Somebody wants to correct me if we need to do a roll call if there's no objection. Madam Speaker, please.
No, I just wanted to confirm, sir, so that we get it right, because we are in the committee of OFB and we're acting with some amendments. And I was told in the beginning when this process was going through, based on our allotted rules and regulations, that each motion would have a vote. I'm just asking if that is the process, because when we said no objection to an earlier motion, it was said that every vote needed to be had to be voted on.
All right.
Asking for clarification, sir.
All right, because my understanding is that like we've done, just to move along. Senator Lee, you want to comment to that so we can move along? And I'll ask for the vote. I'll ask for the roll call. Without any problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just in keeping with our SOPs, we need to do it verbally, and it needs to go through roll call. I know it's kind of tedious, but it's just for record keeping purposes and to make sure that we're being transparent with the public.
Okay, Joe, let's do a roll call for the amendment of the amendment to the amendment of Senator Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment, to the amendment, Chairman St. Augustine,
Aye.
Chairman St. Augustine, aye. Vice Chair Rangel,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rangel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton,
Ungan, aye.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Barnes,
Again.
Speaker Barnes, aye. Senator Lee,
Tungen.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Terlahi,
Again.
Senator Therese Terlahi, aye. Senator Pito Terlahi,
Again.
Senator Pito Terlahi, aye. Senator Marsh Taitano,
Again.
Senator Marsh Taitano, aye. Senator Castro,
Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan,
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya,
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Senator Vice Speaker Nelson,
Ungan.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez,
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres,
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. And Senator Taitagui,
Again.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 15 ayes.
Thank you, my colleagues. Now to the amendment as amended. Let's do a roll call on the votes. Unless, does anybody want to speak to that? If not, we're going to move to the roll call to the vote to move this issue on. I'm not objecting to it. If not, I don't see any hands. Joe, let's do the roll call to vote on the amendment of the amendment of the amendment.
As amended.
As amended. There you go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment as amended, Chairman St. Augustine,
Aye.
Chairman St. Augustine, aye. Vice Chair Rangel,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rangel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton,
Ungan, aye.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes,
Again.
Speaker Barnes, aye. Senator Lee,
Tungen.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Terlahi,
Again.
Senator Therese Terlahi, aye. Senator Pito Terlahi,
Again.
Senator Pito Terlahi, aye. Senator Marsh Taitano,
Again.
Senator Marsh Taitano, aye. Senator Castro,
Again. Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan,
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya,
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson,
Ungan.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez,
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres,
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. And Senator Taitagui,
Again.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 15 ayes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Folks, we're now going to go to our second round of questions on DOE. And I will begin with, and I will go down the list, so just be patient. We have issues I know that everyone wants to ask. Senator Clinton, do you have any questions for DOE on the second round? None? Senator Amanda, do you have any questions for DOE on the second round?
Sure, thank you. Just a quick question, Mr. Superintendent. I know earlier, I believe it was Senator Perez asking about any new applications for the teaching positions. I know a couple of weeks ago, the governor put out an executive order allowing for limited certification for teachers. Can you tell me if you've seen any increase in applications from this waiver for teachers for this limited term certification during the time of the pandemic?
I can't actually attest to that at this point, mostly because this is our hiring period, so I'm not sure, what's driving, what will be driving the applicants at this stage. But I do have a meeting set up with the executive director of the commission, so we can make sure that we're assessing, the impact of the waiver, or the waiver that they're providing. So that at least will be helpful to really with them there. He's expressed an interest in looking at our needs this year. And maybe we have new ideas as to how we can address any certification obstacles just due to COVID-19, then we'll work on that. So I'm grateful for the thought process. I'm not able to say definitively right now whether that's, we still have 50 positions left to fill, but we are going to be talking soon to see what else might be helpful to try to get our teachers hired and retained.
Okay, well, I hope that's something that's beneficial to the department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. Madam Speaker, do you have any questions on this second round to DOE, ma'am?
No, sir, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Vice, do you have any question or would you like to be last?
I don't have any questions at this time. I just want to thank the superintendent for providing a breakdown of the ESF monies that was utilized and how it was used. And it's very clear, so thank you. Perhaps one of our colleagues will have some questions on the contracts, but it's in the chat, so thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you, Madam Vice. Moving along, we have Senator Lee. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator Kelly, do you have any questions, ma'am?
No questions.
Senator Pito Chalai, do you have any questions on the second round, sir?
Joe, I just want to point out a point of interest to the superintendent. John, if we appropriately get the money, satisfy the funding for DOE, don't you think that we can request for a waiver or down payment of the 41 million?
So
if
right now,
fund the Department of Education, don't you think that that's possible?
well, right now, sir, we already have access to those funds. I think the challenge right now is, again, we want to make sure that we don't have to return those funds. Whatever the case may be, we certainly aren't in a position to refund those amounts to the federal government. So what you see in the grant status report that we put on the chat for all of your benefit is an understanding of what's already been purchased with those funds. So the purchase orders that are there, and they show you by different schools what's been purchased, those are accounted for, and those are items that are already delivered and distributed or are soon to be delivered and distributed. The requisitions are actually the pipeline of the other purchases that are coming and that are in process. And once we obligate those funds, you can see how much will be, how deep will be in terms of spending those dollars. So again, the biggest concern is really hoping for the flexibility to receive a waiver or to be granted an approval that we've met the MOE requirements. And that will enable us not to have to return those funds.
Providing that we adequately fund Department of Education, right?
I mean, I think that's absolutely right, to be able to make the best argument that we are funding the department based on, the requirement to provide states, the adequate state support for education. Again, so how we work that out, okay, we're here as partners to work with you on how we demonstrate that, but that will give us a better chance of ensuring that we meet those requirements.
Okay, John, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pito. Now, Senator Therese Charlai, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Superintendent, how much did you say of the 41.5 million has been expended so far?
So you have that, I think you have that information there as well. So I'm going to just refer to the grant status report.
Okay.
So I
all right.
uploaded the status report, right?
Okay.
So right now, of the 41.5 million, 2.1 million has been purchased. Those are the PPEs that we did to get started for the school year. And then you've got about 16.5 million that is in process, meaning a lot of those are the technology components that we're purchasing. So those are that's what's currently in process.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I do hope that you'll be able to go forward as soon as possible, not wait to second quarter. So we're here to help you. So on the last sections of this budget, they talk about things like exemption from BBMR control, budgetary transfer authority for GDOE, and then the authorization for prior years. So I just wanted to ask you this exemption from BBMR control language, has that been working out for you?
Yes, no, that definitely has. I mean, obviously, the cash release is the most important part of that, but the allotment, definitely the allotment release. Sorry, I was hearing the background. Okay, no, definitely that's worked out. But of course, what we're waiting for is a cash release, and we've been working, I think, very successfully with the governor and the team here because we've looked at our general fund. Our TEF seems to be coming this year, really came in on, timely and up to date. And so, I appreciate that. I just want to extend that to BBMR and DOA for ensuring that, because we were kind of worried. In the past, we've seen the shortfalls, it's very late in the game in terms of TEF and other, revenue issues that we've had in the past. But this year, I think they've worked really, really hard to support us, and we appreciate it.
Okay, that's good news, and we're really banking on that TEF for FY21 also. So we hope it stays consistent. Right. So the budgetary transfer authority for GDOE allows you to move among object categories, and it even allows you to pay for prior year obligations. When you use this transfer authority, have you used this to transfer any of the money that was appropriated for Simon Sanchez in prior years?
We did 1 year when these were expiring funds and where we didn't have all of the funds available, and I think it was around 900,000. That was the same year we had a TEF shortfall, and we weren't going to have enough money to move forward with the procurement, and they were going to expire. So I think that was the one time that we were for that particular funding we had to use for. Other than that, the other authorized funds, remain accounted for and reserved for Simon Sanchez.
Okay, and then on the prior year obligations, what are we estimating for your prior year obligations for FY20?
For FY20, so we have we typically report out. I'll let Dr. Zenny give an update, but we typically report out our accounts payable, our aging report when we meet with our committees and appropriations as well as our education committee. So what we've seen in the past is that the prior payables have usually been our effort to catch up with vendor payables, and a lot of the vendor payables, some of that has been subject to prior year shortages mostly with TEF. So every time we're short, we've already obligated the funds, but then we're short on cash. That's forced us to have to make up for those accounts. So this year we have focused most specifically on trying to catch up so that we don't have as many prior years. And then if we get TEF and we get the general fund coming through, as we are seeing this year, it helps us not fall behind. So Dr. Zenny, also, I asked her to really focus on this as part of her.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sue. Right now, I'm pleased to report to everybody, we have 0 liabilities for fiscal year 2019. So the obligations that we have right now are 2020, of which about 650,000 is 90 days past due. So everything else is current, like 0 to 89 days. However, the total that I have right now is of 5.3 million as of yesterday, August 19th. And I predict that by September 30, we would sustain a balance of unpaid liability of about 2.7 million that we cannot sustain based on the monies that we're getting from DOA. And I was just reading the verbiage of the new bill, and it says there that we can use the current appropriation to pay off, to pay off prior year obligations. But that means that out of the 178 million that we will be getting, about 2.6 million will be used to pay off prior year obligations, and part of the monies that we used for 2020, about 2.2 million, was used to pay off the 2019 obligations. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
just to put some context on that, I just remember, she's right. So, and I think as Vice Speaker knows from our last
Okay.
hearing, these
No
these
problem.
payables go up and down in terms of, any particular period in time. So we had talked about 8 million in outstanding payables that were still out there. Now we're trying to get that down, especially the ones that come from prior years. So that's taken a particular strategy to target, the prior year payables, as well as the critical current contracts, as well as our small vendors. I mean, those are the kinds of things we have to juggle. But as long as, I think this year, with general fund and TEF coming in pretty well for us, that's really helped. It's just when we get those end of the year shortfalls that it exacerbates our problem. So if we have some million that are still outstanding when we enter 21, then you can see that will be the prior year payables that we'll have to find a way to make those vendors whole. But I think that's a better situation than we might have been in when we've seen TEF be as short as $8 million in one of our prior fiscal years, years ago. But that was something that really impacted us.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm wishing you luck on the maintenance of efforts and your request for a waiver. So thank you again, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator, if I could just say, because again, you have the legal background as well. If you see the language, definitely there does leave room for interpretation. So that's what I said. There is room for interpretation, but I would hope that with the legislature, the governor's office, and DOE, that interpretation is, the same when we go to US DOE, so that we, are saying the same things to our federal partners. So appreciate your help with that.
Okay, thank you. So thank you. Up next is Senator Perez. Do you have any questions in this round?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I just wanted to give the opportunity for Tina Garcia to finish her testimony. I believe she might have a better connection right now in regards to the question of the, the bond. So, Tina.
Sure, Mr. Garcia.
Hi, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had a bad internet connection. Can you hear me okay? No, cannot.
Yeah.
Can you,
Hello? Hello?
hello, can you keep talking?
Okay. I'll talk fast. We did finish
Okay, you're cutting in and out now. So for some
finish
reason,
our bond financing. The market is still very active on the chat.
hello, I'm sorry, Tina. It's yes, perhaps if you can respond in the chat, that may help. If it's short enough for you to type.
Okay, I will.
All right, thank you. I do have while she's typing it in, I do have an amendment to offer. It's I sent it to San Augustin's office, but it hasn't been uploaded yet, I believe. So I guess I'll wait for that to come up.
Okay, do you have any other questions, or I can come back to you?
Yeah, no further questions. I just have the amendment. So
I'll come back to you for the amendment.
Mr. Chair?
Tina, yes.
My apologies. The amendment has been uploaded. You may have to refresh just to ensure that it's received accordingly.
Okay. Well, if everyone can refresh their folders, go ahead, Senator Regine.
If we could just request that OFB staff also, for the time being, while everybody's kind of adjusting to uploading these documents, if they could also add it to the Zoom chat I think Senator Terlahi was able to do that with hers, and that's where I was able to pull from. That would be
Yes,
helpful. And I
okay,
think
so,
the response from Ms. Garcia is up. So if you wanted to read that.
yes, correct. So Mr. Mesnian, if you could also upload it to the chat as well, the amendment. And in the meantime, if the members can refresh their folder for the Google Drive to see if the Perez amendment is visible.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will work towards that. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I see those, if we hit that thing, I hit the chat, right, bro? Sure, you hit these things sometimes. Yeah, okay.
While we're waiting for that, we can move on to the next one.
Okay, I was just trying to see because I could see it, but it's not quite opening right now. We'll go ahead and we'll move on and make sure that it gets loaded properly. And then we'll come back to you, Senator Perez. So next is Senator Titagui.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you again, John, for being here these last couple of days and actually being very well prepared. We're all going to do our part, to assist DOE, and I think things are going to work out. It'll work out because all our hearts in the right direction here with DOE. There is a question I have with regards to the ESF funding that was given to the private schools and the charter schools. There was a certain amount of funding that was given to them. Is there a deadline in which they have to utilize that funding, or what was the process like? Did you just give them the money and they purchased the items, or what did they give you a list of those particular items that needed to be purchased? And then, so how does that work? And in the event, is there a timeline in which they have to fulfill that obligation in spending the funds? And what happens if they don't finish all the funds in a timeline? Where does it go?
So, I'm sworn in, so I don't want to misspeak, but there's a lot of documentation on my computer. My understanding, though, just my best recollection is that we have to expend these funds within this next year from when the application was approved, I guess. I can confirm that if needed, but it is a quick turnaround to make sure that we spend these funds for the purposes of responding to COVID-19, and which is again the 41.5 million that's out there. We address the need. Basically, the non-public schools is through our equitable services requirement. This is actually, I don't know if you've spoken to some of the private schools. This is actually on Guam beneficial to our private schools and our charter schools. In other states, there have been disagreements between the states and the secretary. I know there was threat of legal action at some point. I'm not sure if that's moved forward, because in the states, what the private schools usually get is only a share of funds that go to Title I eligible students. And whereas on Guam, we consolidate our funds and then we work to share those funds with our private school and charter school partners. And we've typically been good as partners in making use of those federal dollars. So I think that's one thing that's good about how we do things on Guam to support all of our. The way it works, though, is that it's not a direct allocation of funding to the schools. They don't get cash or checks from the department. What we do is we get input from all the stakeholders, which includes all of the private schools and charter schools as well. They get to participate. This time we were really assured to try to get also the parent and student input as well. And the priorities that rose, from all the other concerns and issues that we're dealing with, happen to be with, of course, the safety supplies, the distance learning support, and then mental health and well-being as a third component. And then within those categories, the schools made specific requests based on their allocated amount, which is done by enrollment. They were able to request the types of supplies and equipment and services that they needed. So I know I shared earlier I think it's a 72-page, the application that was with the specific budgets. If you go to just the beginning where it's the project narrative, and you go through that, it actually summarizes the different components and some of the requests that were requested by the schools. So if I looked at component 1, which is distance learning, multiple schools, including the private and charter schools, requested laptops and tablets for students, teacher laptops, instructional supplies, software, so forth. And then there are some requests that were just school specific, and those are also itemized.
So once they provide you their list of their needs, and under those categories that were all accepted, they have a timeline to finish it. You said by the end of the school year or the end of this year, meaning December 31st, it has to be expended.
I believe we have a year to obligate those funds obligate those funds. So again, that's my recollection because of the various specific rules of the different federal funds. But my recollection of discussing this with federal programs is that there's a time frame, and it would be a year to expend these funds and support all the requests due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay. So, Mr. Fernandez, does that mean that they also have that lenience with regards to spending the funds that were allocated for these particular schools, the private schools as well as the charter schools? They don't have until the end of this year. They have 1 year like everyone else, correct?
Well, what we're doing is so right now, for instance, if you can see what the breakdown of the budget, the grant status report that we sent, we're already deploying the resources. So the first priority was to get the PPEs in so that we could all start the school year, assuming face-to-face instruction. So you'll see about $2.1 million that have already been issued in purchase orders to receive the face masks and hand sanitizers, cleaning supplies. We have another 15 million or 16 million that is in the works. A lot of that focused on technology. So already we've moved quickly to try to get those funds moving and get that equipment and supplies in. We still have an additional portion that we need to begin ordering and so forth. But what we're doing is we're facilitating because we have to follow our procurement laws relative to to be accountable for the federal funds. We have to procure and manage the property that's coming in. So it's coming through DOE, and then we're delivering and distributing to the private schools and the charter schools as these supplies come in.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's a little bit different. So it does go through and then they have to pick up those supplies from you.
Right.
Okay,
So,
they don't go on their own.
They get an allocation, they identify their priorities, we facilitate the procurement that we receive and then give out once they arrive. So for instance, we've staged all the PPEs at Tiedzen, but just the other day we had to deliver whatever we were receiving over to the Catholic schools and make sure they had the supplies coming in, and the same thing with the other schools, arranging for them to pick up and distribute their own supplies.
I see. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Fernandez, and good luck to you again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Tello, your question?
No, Senator, I just finished already. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Senator Torres, ma'am, do you have any question on this round? This is the final round. We're going around.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I'm fine.
Thank you. Senator Moylan, do you have any questions, sir? Jim?
No questions, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for continuing to move us forward. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. And I know Senator Castro, you're back. Thank you, sir. Senator Castro.
No questions. Thank you, John, for your time.
All right. Senator Muña.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Fernandez, there's close to about $900,000 from the Healthy Futures Fund going to GDOE, and I can't, I'm not saying that that's not where it should be, because really what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a healthier future, and of course we should start with the children. A lot of these, the monies going into the Healthy Futures Fund comes from taxes from smoking and alcohol. And I guess my question is, are any of these monies that are going to DOE, funding any of the programs that can deter them from getting into these unhealthy habits? So there's been statistics showing that a lot of the middle schoolers, even starting as young as middle school, are getting into vaping and even smoking. So I'm just wondering if any of these monies from the Healthy Futures Funds are going into any of these programs, and if not, what programs are they helping to fund?
I apologize. Based on our analysis of the substitute bill, and I'm hoping I can be corrected if this is not accurate, but it looks like the allocation from the Healthy Futures Fund is coming in as part of the reductions about $885,000 less than what we received last year from Healthy Futures Funds. Last year, those funds were able to be used as part of, some of it was dedicated to operations in the Appropriations Act, and the others were as part of it was set aside for interscholastic sports and health and physical activities. A lot of that money also supported the nursing. So those health were dedicated to, as well as I believe PE supplies for schools. So one of our adjustments this year is because of that reduction, of course we have the flexibility to use other funds from within the budget to support similar activities. We'd have to make that adjustment based on the reduction in those funds from that particular funding source. So, and then again, of course, I think as we discussed before, we're not sure how the year will turn out. I mean, we definitely do still need nursing supplies, but of course, with the ESF funds, that's been helpful because as part of safety, we want some of those supplies that they needed at the school. With regard to sports, right now we're not cleared to do sports. So, when we are cleared, then of course we would be able to project what resources would be needed to pay officials and so forth to do that. But we're at this point, we're not able to have sports anyway. So, that'll be something that will be for the future in terms of when sports are now allowed to proceed.
Okay, thank you for explaining that, because I was going to ask that because of the reduction, would any of those programs be affected? But I guess as you mentioned, with the COVID and the pandemic that we're on right now, it would kind of be a wash right now because none of those programs are really happening at this moment. But thank you very much. I just wanted to find out and see if there is any opportunity for any of those funds to go into maybe something that would, other than sports and nursing supplies, to go in to deter them from entering into any of those unhealthy habits. But thank you again, Mr. Fernandez. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Folks, that will complete the second round. That completes DOE. Now we're going to go back now first for Senator Sabina. You have an amendment, so we can close the issue of DOE. I think the only issue be pending for DOE and on behalf and in support of the Vice Speaker and everybody here is that we're still going to look for see where we can find money. I don't know when we'll be able to discuss that, but we'll see as we move along. Senator Sabina, you have your amendment, ma'am. Can everybody see the amendment? And if you can read it out, I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this amendment would go with the section on Simon Sanchez, Section 2 of Simon Sanchez High School procurement. So it reads, to the greatest extent possible, all procurement documents related to the construction of the new Simon Sanchez High School within 10 business days following the end of each month, provided that all included documents are legally permitted to be made public in a manner that does not violate local or federal laws or procurement processes. Such documents shall be also electronically provided to any government official or member of the public within 10 business days of a request being made. Following an award of the contract, GDOE shall continue to make electronically available all procurement-related documents legally allowed to share publicly upon request of any government official or member of the public within 10 business days of said request. A monthly update of the Simon Sanchez High School rebuild to include a listing of projects awarded, projects that have been put out for bid, a detailed ledger of expenses for the rebuild, and a current status of the rebuild. So yeah, basically this is just to make sure that things are on track, and to, yeah, basically, it's been over 10 years since the faculty and the students of Simon Sanchez were advocating for the rebuild of their school. And I think this is a good measure to ensure that things are on track without having to create a super lockbox, right? So I think this is a pretty reasonable measure.
Right, as all my colleagues seen the amendment, and that's actually on page 11. Am I correct, Senator Paris?
Sorry, part one. Oh, sorry, section 10. So let me go back.
Section 10. On the reports part, right?
My apologies. It's section 10 under reports.
Okay, as everybody saw that, and I'm gonna go down the line on the list for all I know I see your hand, Senator Kelly, but I'm gonna go down the list so that I don't miss anybody. Okay, Madam Vice, you wanted to make a quick comment because Senator Kelly wanted to make a quick comment also.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The
You're coming in
superintendent
broken
is
up,
trying to
but
log
okay.
back online. Just can
I beg your pardon?
you hear me now? The superintendent was
I
kicked
can hear
off,
you now.
so he's trying to log back
The
in.
superintendent?
Yes. So just
Okay, we'll
can you
wait
just wait for him? Thank you.
Yes, we'll wait for him then. And then we'll begin the questions. I'm just gonna go around the list of everybody, so everybody's covered, okay? John's back on, all right, Madam Vice? Okay, and we're gonna start with Senator Clinton. Do you have any questions to that amendment? And has everybody seen the amendment? I think everybody's seen it. Senator Clinton, do you have any questions?
I was able to, yeah, my question is for Mr. Fernandez. If this amendment is going to require some more reporting, is this something that's, I think, is it feasible for you to report this often?
I'm sorry, I didn't get to see that. I just joined back in, so I didn't get to see anything that was put up if there was.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, maybe I'll just read it. So,
It's on the chat. Does he have access to the chat?
I do, but since I just rejoined.
One of the requirements of this amendment is a monthly update of the Simon Sanchez High School rebuild to include a listing of projects awarded, projects that have been put out for bid, a detailed ledger of the expenses for the rebuild, and the current status of the rebuild. That's one of the reporting requirements. And that basically that all procurement documents related to the construction of the Simon Sanchez High School within 10 business days following the end of each month be provided, as long as they're legally permitted, that doesn't violate local or federal procurement process laws, etc. So my basic question is just, are you able to report that often?
With all due respect, I know the interest is in trying to get as much information on a regular basis regarding the progress, and we do hope to have a lot of progress that we can share. Just on this requirement, though, I don't think we would see a lot of. We could submit reports, but there wouldn't be a lot of information regarding projects awarded and so forth. Really, what we'll be doing is engaging in the design process with the school. And until we get to a point where we go through with the financing and construction, at that point, we would move forward into the actual, the meat of the project. So with the design, a design firm being on is that through the course of this fiscal year, we would be, working with the school on the design, doing all the drawings that are needed, and really finalizing what it is that we want a vendor to actually build. And that's really the bulk of the work. So I don't know if it's preferred to do that through the normal oversight process with the Ed Committee, We certainly are able to provide it, whatever information is available. I'm just in looking at the language. I don't know that the reports would have much in it on a monthly basis, based on the language here, which once we award a project, that project's going to take us, through most of the year, which is the design project. And the next project after that would actually be the construction and financing. So those would be the 2 projects that we would be able to update you on. But a monthly might be too frequent to be able to provide much information in that regard. I don't know if I understood the request in terms of what information would be helpful. We definitely would be happy to provide any information and public information, but I just think that if it's project related, we only have, we're looking at it as two major projects coming up. One being the design, and then the work that would go on, and then one being the construction and financing, which would come after the design is, near complete. Does that make sense? Sorry.
Mm-hmm. What about a quarterly update?
I think the reporting is not the reporting or the frequency is not necessarily the issue. It's exactly what kind of information would be helpful. Because again, if we are going out to procure the construction and financing, the monthly reports will say that we are in the process of procuring it. We can't really get into the detail of that process. Once we make the award, we can say this has been awarded. And then maybe after the construction and financing, we could do more reporting on the progress of the construction. And on a quarterly basis like that would be fine. But between now, the design and the construction and financing, the information that we would be able to provide you would be more akin to on the design side, showing what phase of design we're in terms of what progress has been made on the design phase, and maybe where we are in preparing for the procurement of project number 2. So that would be the nature of some of the information we would provide from a progress standpoint. I think once the construction starts, then of course, the progress around the build would be something we could definitely share in terms of budget, timing, and progress of the actual, work. But I think that would be further along.
So this amendment calls for a monthly update of the Simon Sanchez High School rebuild to include a listing of projects awarded. So let me just maybe be more specific. It sounds like you're saying, are there projects awarded monthly that you would be able to report on?
We don't envision that. We envision awarding an A&E contract, and then we envision later on awarding a construction and financing contract. We probably will have to do a lease agreement through the legislature at that point as well, plus a pledge of the financial sources to that lease, which is a legislative action. So in between those phases, there wouldn't necessarily be I can't envision any new projects awarded or being put out for bid. We could definitely provide an update of any expenditures relative to the A&E contract, along that time frame. I would say for the design that a quarterly would probably be sufficient for any updates in terms of any major changes in the work. But I think maybe what would be more interesting to the legislature is once we get the construction started, and we want to monitor that progress more regularly. And I wouldn't be averse to that. It's just that in this year, much of it will be dedicated to the design work starting and engaging the community and showing the renderings.
Okay.
And
Thank
so
you.
forth. So that's just my
no further questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Senator Shelton, do you have any questions to the amendment? None? Madam Speaker, do you have any questions to this amendment?
No, I don't, sir.
All right, Senator, Madam Vice Speaker, do you have any questions to the amendment? Okay, Senator Lee, do you have any questions to this amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just have a quick question for the superintendent if he's available. I just wanted to ask if he's aware of any reporting requirements that he has not kept up with, either from the legislature or any FOIA requests that have been submitted to his office where he hasn't responded. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the need for an amendment like this. Usually we try to do this if an agency or an entity is been withholding information, but I just don't see that as the case with the Department of Education. So I just wanted to ask the superintendent if he's aware of any information that he has withheld from either the legislature or the public in general.
No, I'm not aware of any reporting requirements that we haven't met.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving along, Senator Kelly, do you have any questions to that amendment, ma'am? Senator Kelly?
Hungen, yes, Hungen. Yeah, you know, part of what went through my mind in this is, I mean, the reporting part has already been discussed and so forth, but for the providing of the documents, so within 10 days, there really aren't any parameters on how many years worth of documents, how many pages worth of documents. There aren't any parameters like that. And so, you know, I know even with the FOIA law, there are some parameters, but so I was thinking, I remember well, hopefully I'm remembering correctly, but I believe both Senator Perez and Senator Therese had a former bill, and I think it became law, but it was about requiring the posting onto the website. So I'm just wondering if it might be easier to just have GDOE post on their website or give to the AG to post on their website any of the actual procurement documents that are shareable, and then therefore anybody can avail themselves of them without having to have that labor intensivity of trying to meet a 10-day window, maybe while they're trying to do some other activities or so forth. So I guess maybe I would ask the author of the amendment if she would consider that or what she thinks about that.
Yes.
Oops, oh, you went the opposite way. You were unmuted before.
All right, thank you, Senator. Appreciate the dialogue. So yeah, I'm willing to amend the amendment based on what's being discussed to make it a little bit more, you know, manageable. But I think at the same time, it's important to keep that, you know, certain accountability. You know, I think the superintendent said they're trying to get the A&E bid finalized by the end of the month. So perhaps by the end of this end of the fiscal year, there should be at least some sort of reporting out of the status of the rebuild. I think, you know, even if there's nothing happening, they could just report what was previously reported. So it's, yeah, if there, you know, it can definitely be, you know, some things can be reiterated on a monthly basis. But I think, you know, as far as the different, you know, benchmarks regards to the build of Simon Sanchez, I think the A&E portion is one big part as well as the construction. So, you know, I think at least, you know, getting these critical dates to be reported, I think that's essential. And especially since, you know, the testimony was given that they're expecting to finalize or hopefully get certified funds for the rebuild of Simon Sanchez by the end of this fiscal year. So at least, you know, I would amend the amendment to include some of the dialogue that has happened here. So yeah, I think the website is a great idea, but I think there should be a time stamp, you know, from the end of this fiscal year to, you know, I'm open to, you know, quarterly reports during the A&E process, and then perhaps monthly during the construction phase. I mean, that seems to be where this dialogue is heading. So I'll work on the amendment to address those.
That's good. And to further kind of relieve the burden on GDOE, if it's not something they do already and they may already do it, is, when you're working with the architects and the others, you just require the blueprints in electronic format and so forth, so that it's already done for them. It's submitted that way. It can go very easily onto a website. So just want to see for considering that. Yeah.
Senator Kelly, I will allow John Fernandez to speak. He was waving. He wanted to speak when you were making a comment. Senator John, you want to make something, Mr. Fernandez?
If it's okay, I mean, I'm not really in the. I mean, we are definitely able and willing to report whatever is required. I am not normally in the business of actually asking for more and more reporting requirements in the budget, but if I could suggest maybe more flexible language. I understand the intent of Senator Perez because she's actually, hails from Simon Sanchez, and I understand the need for the community to want to get more updates. If I could suggest, if I could suggest more on a quarterly basis, and maybe the language could read more generally an update related to the progress of the Simon Sanchez High School design and construction, to include but not limited to, the certain kind of information that might be of interest. If it's really a progress report that you can use then as the basis to seek further public documents related to it, I would be open to that. Otherwise, I don't have a problem posting whatever's available publicly right now from the A&E process. All I would be able to do though would be to post the RFP that went out. But I couldn't post anything else related to that until we got to an award, which will be several months later, and then the award itself, once it's public, then that I could post. So if that's, I guess it's really not a matter of necessarily the requirement to report. It's really if you would like a more regular progress update, that we can provide a progress update without, it's not necessarily tied to the procurement award. Because those can be public in many other ways, FOIA, or those are public anyways. That would provide a more frequent opportunity to explain where we are in the process of, and give you an update on that basis. So maybe it's just more about a more general language, because the specifics we can do, but those specifics are going to limit us to when there's a change in procurement of the next phase, and those are going to come months and months and months apart. And I would rather not be in the position of responding to you with no new information if really what you're interested in is a progress report, to show that the legislature is interested in making sure this moves along smoothly. And we'd be happy to do that on a quarterly basis. My budget team is listening, so they will take note if that becomes part of the requirement. And then we would be happy to keep you abreast of the qualitative side of the progress reporting, as well as any documents associated with it.
That sounds like a great recommendation. So I'll definitely, I'll revise the amendment for quarterly reports to begin at the beginning of the fiscal year. Okay.
Sure, that's fine with us.
Okay, great. So I may need a little time for that. I could possibly withdraw my amendment and just introduce another amendment to mimic or reflect the discussion here.
All right. But I just wanted to make sure that I didn't want to call back Mr. Fernandez tomorrow. I want to wrap this up for DOE because this is the end. This is the last round for the for DOE, other than the funding. So if you can just if anybody would like to speak in reference to that possible amendment, and we can still continue moving along, and hopefully by the time we're done, when we end, DOE's done, and then like was mentioned earlier, folks, why don't we just move along then? Senator Kelly, you already mentioned the comments in reference to that Senator Perez is doing the amendment. Senator Tideway, do you have anything you want to speak in reference to the possible amendment that's going to happen, ma'am? To
No,
the
I
amendment.
don't. I mean, with that oversight, procurement is doing everything to ensure that, there's transparency. And that's what it's all about, transparency, and the rules are followed. I
Yes.
know it takes a little bit of effort and extra work on some agencies, but when you're dealing with funding, it's important that transparency is first and foremost. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Senator Moylan, do you have anything? Oh, great, I'm back. First. Senator Mary Torres, do you have anything, ma'am, you would like to speak on behalf of the amendment that was presented? That's gonna be changed a little bit to show the quarterly, ma'am?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I actually believe that, not, in all due respect, I believe that this is very unreasonable. There is an oversight committee that has the prerogative to call in at any time and request information. And I think that when you keep that, in place, that it actually works well. Requiring them to make those very specific reporting requirements and to spell it out in the budget bill, I think is overreaching, in my opinion, because the oversight committee can very well call in the director or, appear at the board meetings and find that information. And it is not out of reach through the Freedom of Information Act anyway. So I would respectfully request that we just not entertain such an amendment in the budget bill. I think that, there are avenues already well in place. And that's how, because further dialogue can occur in an oversight hearing when the information is presented and further information needs to be asked. So I would object to the amendment even as proposed and further as amended, as proposed to be amended as well.
All right. Thank you, Senator Torres. Senator Moylan now. Apologize, sir.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director, for your acceptance on the amendment being proposed. I too am in favor of the amendment. I think transparency is very helpful. This will be, by placing it in the budget bill, possibly this will be very helpful for whoever will be in the 36th Guam legislature to be able to follow along as well. So thank you for that, and I support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Castro, Will Castro, sir.
I support the amendment, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Muña, Luis Muña, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Yeah, I support it as it will be amended to quarterly. It seems like Mr. Fernandez, the superintendent, is more in favor of that time frame, so I support that.
All right, that completes the whole list except for myself. John, I've got a question for you, John. Madam Vice, yes, ma'am, before I start asking questions, yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask, is this something that GDOE cannot do?
Which part?
The amendment, is this not possible for GDOE to do?
I think I tried to clarify what it is that we would be happy to do. What I'm afraid of is that we'll have monthly reports of no updates, and we'll be meeting a 10-day review period to provide no updates if it's really limited to procurement records and so forth, where there really isn't any procurement being done. So I guess if you're saying that you want a report listing the projects and the bids and all of that, and nothing's happened in that month, and nothing happens with several months, then it seems like we're not going to be helping the legislature keep up to date with what's really going on, and that we're also not going to be giving you the information that will be helpful to us as we move into the next phase. I do think there is a benefit to reporting because I do want the legislature to be poised to be able to work with us on that next phase, which is when the legislature will be helpful. So I think a quarterly reporting where we're able to give a report on the progress of the work that's been procured, the time, whether we're on schedule, whether any, challenges and obstacles. And then as we lead into construction and financing, I'm sure the legislature will be interested, as will GITA and other agencies, with what will need to happen in order to ensure that we're able to adequately pledge the resources for the financing and construction. So I think it works for both of us to have that regular update, and I'm happy to do it. But I just think that if it's just limited to procurement, all procurement documents are available. We're happy to provide it if it's available by FOIA, but it's not going to be available on that monthly frequency because there won't be much procurement between design and then construction. So
Okay, so that was a lot. So it's possible to do if the procurement is actually ongoing. If it is written the way we propose it to be, then it would be moot because there's no procurement. So what we need to do is make sure that it's being done when you start to procure for this, right?
right, or as I suggested, if it's a matter of just progress, meaning we just want to know where it is in the design phase,
Okay.
we're happy to provide that update as well.
Okay.
And whenever you
Thank
have a
you so
hearing
much.
as our oversight chair, we will definitely provide that information as needed during any oversight as well. So that can be even more frequent as needed.
All right,
Yes, thank you.
Senator Lee, you had a follow-up question before I start?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Fernandez, you were discussing progress reports. Is that something that you periodically present to your board?
Yes, we meet with them monthly, of course, and sometimes more than that, and also in work sessions. So I'm assuming that as we work with the legislature, those same progress reports will be the same information provided to the legislature. So my only concern was that it won't be much procurement going on during the months that are being envisioned. So
Understood. And I think that maybe, these same reports, since you're already generating them for the board, if you could share that with the legislature on however often you're giving them out, if it's monthly or quarterly, I think that would definitely suffice, because I think we can all understand and agree that Simon Sanchez and the rebuild of that school is long, long overdue. And I think we all understand some of the challenges that we've had to overcome to get this far. But an update is certainly important. I think bogging down with a lot additional work for you, and I think you have a lot other fish to fry. If you're already accomplishing this with the report that's given to the board, that might kind of kill two birds with one stone. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, John, a simple question, or maybe not so simple. What kind of reports and how timely are the reports required by the federal government when you're doing all these federal grants? I'm just trying to match them up. That we're going to be asking you every month. Do you do the same thing for the federal grants and everything?
Usually quarterly update. I believe I'm sure my staff will email me, but I know that we at least do the quarterly updates for our grants to the program office.
All right, and that's why you're suggesting that the amendment to the proposal by Senator Perez would be to change from monthly to quarterly, and then at the same token, like it was mentioned by Senator Torres, that the oversight chair, whoever it may be on the 36th, can monitor and have the power to reach out and ask for additional reports. Correct? John, you would have no problem. That's why you support the quarterly, right?
I guess the reason I said quarterly is because of the pace of the project. Once you get into the design phase, there might not be a lot of information on a monthly basis, but we certainly, so definitely on a quarterly basis. And then from the quarterly reporting, should the legislature want more information relative to documents or other things that are referenced in there, then obviously we would be happy to provide those as needed. But we envision a very public process with the design phase. We certainly have been waiting so long to get it started. So we definitely welcome your interest in joining us also with those types of events and meetings as when the school is engaged or if there are stakeholder meetings, like we've done over the past summer with the ESF. So they might be all virtual for all we know. But again, it really wasn't necessarily the frequency. I mean, if we did it monthly, and as Senator Lee said, and they were simply mirroring the board reports as well, then it wouldn't be a problem with the frequency. I just wanted to get more clarity as to the nature of the information that the legislature is interested in. And obviously, as I said, there is an interest in me ensuring that you have the information, because there is a major legislative role when we get to the end of the design and we get towards negotiating the financing and construction. Gita will be, of course, is our partner as well in that effort, but it will require legislative action, is my understanding. So we certainly don't want to wait till then to let you know how it's going. So I don't mind the progress reports. That'll help us also make sure that you have the information needed to ensure the smooth, progress of the project.
All right, thank you, John. Senator Sabina, Senator Sabina Perez, do you have that amendment so we can wrap this up?
Yes, it's being sent right now. I can read it right now while you're. Maybe
Yeah,
I can.
if you can read it and we can follow where the changes are based on the current amendment, I mean, your proposal, so we'll know where it's at.
Sure. So basically, I took out monthly and put quarterly, and I took out the FOIA part, the one that looks like the FOIA. So it reads, to the greatest extent possible, all procurement documents related to the construction of the new Simon Sanchez High School within 10 business days following the end of each quarter, provided that all documents are legally permitted to be made public in a manner that does not violate local or federal laws or procurement processes. And then B, a quarterly update of Simon Sanchez High School rebuild to include a listing of projects awarded, projects that have been put out for bid, a detailed ledger of the expenses for the rebuild and the current status of the rebuild. So again, I think that if there wasn't anything in progress, they can, report at least that what's happening or what's not happening until at such time there is some activity. So I think the quarterly is, I think, and taking out the FOIA part, I think was the big changes.
All right, so basically change all the monthly to quarterly. As my colleagues, have they seen that online so that we know what everybody's gonna be voting on, so we can wrap this one up? Not yet. Joe, have you got it up and running?
Mr. Chair, if Senator Sabina could add it to our chat.
Yes, if you could, please, I appreciate it. And then I can see it.
Gmail and Google is having trouble. We're having trouble with Google right now.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Lee. That's correct, Mr. Chair. We also are having issues. However, we have not received any update on an amendment at this time.
You need to turn on your mic, Senator Perez. We saw the lips moving, but no voice. Press again. Okay.
Yeah, I sent it through our WhatsApp chat. If you can look at that, how do I get it on to the Zoom chat? I'm not familiar with that. Let me try.
I did receive it, Mr. Chair, in our WhatsApp chat, so.
I'll try to send it on the Zoom chat.
Yes, I also received it on our Senate chat. But I just wanted to I need my staff and the clerk, the core staff reading it, because remind yourself, I'll just remind everybody that as amendment is approved and endorsed by everybody, it's going to be put right into the bill, so it becomes a matter of record, and we move on from there, because we're getting unanimous votes on this will be their second amendment now. All right. So Joe, have you got it on yet?
Sir, can I just confirm you're asking for the original amendment?
No. She made an amendment to her amendment. I just sent it to you on the WhatsApp.
Stand by, sir. We're going to need to email it now to the appropriate email in order for us to load it.
Okay, thank you. Do we need any further discussion? As soon, I know most of my colleagues have seen it on their WhatsApp, the Senator chat. Okay, stand by, Senator Therese. Okay, I hope everybody's got it. Senator Therese, go ahead and speak, ma'am, on that amendment. That amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support this amendment 100%. It's a great amendment, and it's not as much to do with GDOE as it has to do with the students who have been putting up with waiting for Simon Sanchez for over 10 years. It's just because of the matter of time. And we've tried every year to come in and, reassess, what is accounting for the delays, and we can have oversight hearings. But I think it really just allows the public, the media, the students especially to know, because these documents are now going to be sent to the Speaker of the Legislature. They will be put up onto the legislature's website. And that's just such a useful tool for anyone who wants to know what's going on. And I don't think it's much work the way the amendment's written, because it says they're just pretty much going to forward their procurement documents, or else it's going to be a list of expenditures, projects. It's not even a narrative that's required by this amendment. And so I think it's great, but the benefits are even greater. It's going to allow us, without having to chase anything down, to just be ahead of it. And everyone, it's really not even as much for us as I think for the students. I think almost every month, you'll see students call out for, where's Simon Sanchez? And this just puts it all formal down, and it's really the documents they're doing. I see no problem with a report that says nothing to report this month. That's nothing. I'm hoping the superintendent will agree. It's not that big of a burden for those who are involved in the procurement, and it's fair. We've transferred the procurement over from DPW to the school. It's an exceptional process, and it's just we're still gauging. Right. This is a good idea too. So hopefully you're moving along. This is great. So let's show that progress. It's actually really good for DOE, I think.
Yes, and thank you, Senator Therese, because John Fernandez was agreeing to that. Senator Pito Chalai, you wanted to comment to that so we can do a roll call? I just want to make sure everybody's got the
I just wanted to share. We're not just talking about a single house. We're talking about the construction of a school. And remember now, when you do a contract, you do it on 3 phases and sometimes 4 phases. First phase is the bottom, the flooring. Second phase is the walls. The third phase is the ceiling. You have to do 3 phases on a construction. We're not talking about a single home. We're talking about a school. So 3 months, and then they're going to be reporting it. And some of the projects and some of the materials, they probably need to order from Mount Violent. And how long does it take? Sometimes 6 months. I'm just sharing my thoughts because I've been involved in something like this. And I think 3 months on reporting for a magnitude of this type of project is too short. And if I can proffer an amendment to this, Joe, please. I want to make an amendment.
Yes, you may.
Amendment to increase that to at least 6 months, not 3 months. It's not going to work. DOE they're just too over inundated with a lot of things that they have to do. And they're going to be reporting the construction on what the accomplishment is at within 3 months. Some of the phases will not be completed even at 6 months. Some of the materials that they need to order sometimes take almost like a year. So 2 months is a little bit too short. I'm saying this because I've been involved in construction for the longest time. And I'm telling you, if it's a single house, no problem on the 3 months reporting. But we're talking about a school. This magnitude of a project is just a little bit too big to just say that we're going to be reporting every 3 months, because a lot of the phases will not be accomplished within 3 months. So what are they going to report? That we're still working after 3 months? When the 3 months comes by, we're still working on the flooring of this project? I'm asking that
Understood.
we amend that to at least 6 months, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, okay, well, is the amendment ready online now? Can everybody see it? Because Senator Perez, because we have Senator Peter that would like to offer an amendment to that, changing
Yeah,
from monthly to quarterly to every semi-annual, basically.
So there's some issues with Google right now. I've been sending it to my email. It's not getting through. The quickest way I'm getting it through is the WhatsApp chat. So
Can I ask a quick question just to get information as I weigh out the 6 months and the 3 months and the monthly? Could I ask the superintendent just a quick question?
Go ahead and let's close this loop. It's either quarterly or 6
So I
months.
apologize if I missed it. I know we talked about reporting to the board and we talked about progress report and what kind of report. Could you remind me, if you shared it already, how often you give progress reports to the board?
We meet monthly, at least monthly, and sometimes in a work session. So at the very least, I put together a superintendent's report in which I include this discussion of where Simon Sanchez is in those reports. I do believe a copy of that is forwarded to the legislature or to the speaker's office for publication or posting on the website. But again, if there's a request for a more dedicated or detailed report, that's obviously doable. I think the only question is really just the type of information that was being requested. And so, however the legislature decides that, we're happy to do our best to provide that report.
Okay, so it sounds like we're getting that progress report already. Obviously it's a different format, but at least I understand that. Okay, so it's not
Understood. My colleagues, I just want to let you all know we're having Google problems. I don't know if it got loaded. I'm getting WhatsApp messages from my staff. They're having problems to get it uploaded. Senator Tidegui, before I'm going to go ahead and recess this for the day, and because it's a delay all over the place.
Okay, well,
Yes,
maybe
ma'am.
we can do something without the Google app, and that is, I'm going to have an object to the inclusion from 3 months to 6 months. So as simple as that, I'll object. I do appreciate, we can move forward with that. So I'm objecting from the 6 months to the 3 months. The amendment proffered by from Jonya,
All right.
the good senator, my favorite.
All right. Folks, we're going to go to vote and decide on. Gosh, we can't even have either amendment. We can't work that way. We're gonna have to have the amendment in our hands so that nobody complains about anything later, okay? So we're gonna recess because we also have another Zoom at 5:30. Senator Therese, yes.
Yeah, we just ask if there's any objection to moving forward while we have it available on our own chats in front of us. If there's no objection, if we could move forward. I just don't want to be rushed going through the budget, by recessing right now.
Oh, I'm not rushing you to go to the budget. I'm trying to settle this. Well, we're having Google problem. That's the issue. Mm-hmm. Senator Pito, we have an objection to your amendment. Can you make sure it goes on the WhatsApp? Senator Pito, can you hear me?
Hi, Joe. I'll try.
Okay, can you get your staff to help you out and load it up on the WhatsApp so we can see it on the senator's chat? So everyone can see it, even though the other folks it's not here.
I also object to the amendment. Our students have been waiting.
Not a problem.
What is 3 months?
Ma'am, I understand that you object to it. Senator Tidegui object to it. And what we'll do is we'll do a roll call and we'll vote on it and we'll decide from there. Okay, so we'll
just to remind you, sometimes if you're gonna do an RFP, sometimes it takes almost a year.
I understand, Pito, I understand what you're talking about. I've seen a lot of RFPs. Joe, does everybody understand the difference of the amendment to Senator Sabina's amendment? Is just to strike the monthly to semi-annual, which is every 6 months. All right, we have 2 objections. We're gonna move a roll call. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's do a roll call of votes on the 6 months.
Okay, this is on the amendment, the Terlahi amendment to the amendment.
Yes, of Senator Paris.
All right, thank you. Chairman San Augustine?
Aye.
Chairman San Augustine, aye. Vice Chairman Rigel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Rigel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Ungan, aye.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Tina Barnes?
Again.
Speaker Barnes, aye. Senator Lee?
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Terlahi?
Ahi.
Senator Therese Terlahi, nay. Senator Peter Terlahi?
Again.
Senator Peter Terlahi, aye. Senator Taitano, Marsh Taitano?
Ahi.
Senator Marsh Taitano, nay. Senator Castro?
Ungan.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan?
Nay.
Senator Moylan, nay. Senator Munya?
Nay.
Senator Munya, nay. Senator Vice Speaker Nelson?
Ahi.
I'm sorry, ma'am, one more time. Vice Speaker Nelson?
Ahi.
Ahi. Vice Speaker Nelson, ahi. Senator Perez?
Ahi.
Senator Perez, nay. Senator Torres?
Nay.
Senator Torres, nay. Senator Taitui?
Nay.
Senator Taitui, nay. Mr. Chair, you have 7 ayes and 8 nays.
All right, the motion fell on the amendment. Back to the original motion, original amendment. Are there any objection?
You know, we should go shopping before things run
All right, folks, turn off your mic. Save your
Go shop.
conversation for something else. Thank you. Let's move the vote. Joe, let's go. Do a roll call. Joe Meskin?
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment by Senator Sabina Perez, Chairman San Augustine?
Aye. Nothing else left.
Chairman San Augustine, aye. Chairman Rigel, Vice Chairman Rigel?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Rigel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Ungan.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes?
Again.
Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee?
Ahi.
Senator Lee, nay. Senator Therese Terlahi?
Again.
Senator Therese Terlahi, aye. Senator Peter Terlahi?
Aye.
Senator Peter Terlahi, nay. Senator Marsh Taitano?
Ungan.
Senator Marsh Taitano, aye. Senator Castro?
Ungan.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan?
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya?
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson?
Just to clarify, is this for the quarterly amendment?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay, Ungan.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez?
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres?
Nay.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Ahi.
Thank you. Senator Torres, nay. And Senator Taitui?
Ungan.
Senator Taitui, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 12 ayes and 3 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. The amendment passes. My colleagues, we have completed the 2 rounds of DOE. We have ended DOE. We will now recess until tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We will still,
Mr. Chair,
Madam Vice?
Yes, I sent out amendment. I sent out an amendment on the on our chat because Google is down. It's just a simple amendment. We can recess till tomorrow, but this amendment is just very simple. It reads that that in section 2, it's non-transferable, notwithstanding any other provision of law or this act, provision of law or this act, this allocation shall not be subject to transfer. Just so that we know, because there's a that says that are transferable, so we want to make sure that this money also is dedicated to the rebuild of Simon Sanchez. Let's see.
Oh, okay. I just saw it now. You just want to make sure it stays in place. Okay. That being said, if do all my colleagues see the amendment on your chat? Are there any objection? Madam Speaker, you have you wanted to speak on that? You okay? You see that?
No, sir, I'm just asking if there's no objection, we still need to call for the vote.
Yes, I've been told by legal, just go to the roll call, and so there's no doubt in anybody's mind, we did a roll call. All right? Does anyone want to speak to that amendment? Senator Munya?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to clarify, if you can just please refresh my memory. So we did in section 2, did we not change that to Simon Sanchez High School construction?
No, what we did was in the paragraph, it was Simon Sanchez construction, but the title was still Simon Sanchez procurement. We never changed that.
Okay.
And all the amendment was to make sure the funds don't go anywhere. When it goes there, it is specifically to that chapter. It's not subject for transfer to be used anywhere else, other than to ensure Simon Sanchez is built. Senator Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to, if we could also include language to be able to give legal the opportunity to make technical corrections to this measure, just to make sure that the intent is followed through.
Yes. Madam Vice, do you have no objection to that? We make sure it's legally.
Yes, thank you, Senator Lee.
All right. Anyone else would like to speak on that amendment? There being none, Joe, do the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the Vice Speaker's amendment, Chairman San Augustine?
Aye.
Chairman San Augustine, aye. Vice Chair Rogel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Rogel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Ungen.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes?
Ungen.
Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee?
Ungen.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Terlahi?
Ungen.
Senator Therese Terlahi, aye. Senator Peter Terlahi?
Senator Peter?
Senator Peter Terlahi?
Sir, you need to unmute your, you have to unmute the mic.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Ungen.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Peter Terlahi, aye. Senator Marsh Taitano?
Okay.
Senator Marsh Taitano, aye. Senator Castro?
Ungen.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moreland?
Aye.
Senator Moreland, aye. Senator Munya?
Ungen.
Senator Munya, aye. Senator Vice Speaker Nelson?
Ungen.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez?
Ungen.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres,
Kungan,
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Tactically,
Ungan.
Senator Tactically, aye. Mr. Chair, the motion received 15 ayes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my colleagues. This completes DOE. We will now recess until tomorrow. And tomorrow, when we come back in, we will go back to chapter 1. We will start with chapter 1. We will be communicating with the charter school, UG and GCC, to not have them come down yet, but be ready to jump into the Zoom when we start the charter schools after we're settling with chapter 1. I would ask that on the panel, thank you, John Fernandez and your staff for your attendance. Ms. Daphne, I don't think we're going to need you. We're only going to need actually Mr. Byrne and well, then again, I think Daphne, just come back tomorrow because we're going to talk about the revenue base, and that's what we're going to try to complete that and be done with it so we can move on, and then you can get back to work. All right. Thank you, my colleagues, and thank you to people of Guam. The committee hearing on Bill 282-35 is now on recess until tomorrow at 10 o'clock. All right. Thank you.